Welcome everybody to another essential question in our learning target number 2. We're moving on to the auditory system. So right now, a really good idea would be to get out that sheet that I gave you in class and have this out on your desk so you can label the parts of the ear as I go through them. Our learning target for today: what are the structures and the functions of the ear? And I really should say, I guess, of the auditory system. Alright, so anyways, let's get started. Question for you to ponder, and we'll have a discussion about tomorrow, is if a tree falls in the forest and there is no ear to hear it, is there a sound? Ponder that as we talk about this. Alright, so if we're talking about the auditory system, we're talking about the structures and the functions of the ear, here are all the parts that you'll need to know for the AP exam. Now, scientists divide our ear up into 3 regions, if you will, here. If you take a look, and you might want to draw this in your notes, this would be considered the outer part of the ear, this region right here, consisting of the pinna and the auditory canal. This area right here would be considered the middle ear, consisting of the tympanic membrane, also known as our eardrum, and then the malleus, the incus, and of course the stapes, the 3 smallest bones of our body. And then this last region right here, which we call the inner ear, consisting of the oval window, the cochlea, the basal membrane, and the hair cells or the cilia that are inside of the cochlea. So here's basically what happens with sound. So you have sound waves, because sound is just like vision, it comes in waves, okay? And those sound waves are collected by the pinna, or that outside structure of the ear. Now, humans aren't lucky like animals where we have pinna that move to kind of localize the sound and to be able to find where it's coming and actually get the sound directly. We would have to move our heads in the direction of the sound to get the best quality sound. Anyways, the sound comes in to the pinna, and the pinna really acts as like a funnel to get the sound into the auditory canal. Now, in the auditory canal are lots of hairs, and those hairs are really to just make sure that debris doesn't get into the inner part of the ear here. That's really all that those hairs, the purposes that those hairs serve. Okay? Oh, by the way, when it comes to ear wax, okay, ear wax can obviously impede the sound from being able to make it into the inner ear, but it's a natural thing, so you don't want to get rid of it entirely, so don't be shoving Q-tips down in there, because all that does is pack it in there. You just want to use the Q-tip in this outer pinna part, okay? Pushing that down there is going to decrease your ability to be able to sense sound. Alright, anyways, moving into the middle ear, we have the eardrum, or the tympanic membrane. What happens with the sound is it vibrates against this membrane, and this vibration is then picked up by the hammer, and then by the anvil, and then by the stirrup, and then this sound, these bones vibrate against this oval window of the cochlea, and the sound is able to go inside of this snail-like structure. Now, inside of this snail-like structure is what's called a basal membrane, and it's basically just a pad that has a bunch of hair cells on it. Now, these hair cells are called cilia. That's C-I-L-I-A, cilia. And these cilia are, oh, by the way, the semicircular canal is filled with fluids, okay? And the cilia kind of bathe in that fluid. And when the sound comes into, the sound waves come into the cochlea, it vibrates the basal membrane, which then allows the cilia to create the transduction process. The cilia are what convert the sound wave into a message that the brain can understand, and the cilia send that message, that neural impulse, that electrical chemical message, via the auditory nerve to the thalamus of the brain, and the thalamus sends it to the temporal lobe for interpretation. Okay? All right. So I have a little video here that will also explain this, just in case I didn't do a very good job. So you have two versions. Oh, here we go. My bad.
Many of us take for granted a very extraordinary organ, our ears. To understand the ear, we need to understand what sound is. The speakers you are listening to right now are vibrating, flexing in and out, causing a wave of pressure through the ear. The frequency of these waves, or the speed at which the sound creating surface moves back and forth, affects the pitch of the sound. The level of air pressure in each wave is directly related to how loud the sound is. The outer part of our ear catches these waves. It faces forward and has a specially designed structure of curves, helping us to determine the direction of the sound and also emphasize the frequencies used in human speech. Now that the sound waves are caught, they travel through the ear canal and strike against our eardrum, a thin membrane about 10 millimeters wide. Now that we receive the sound, the middle ear transfers this energy. The smallest bones in your body, the malleus, incus, and stapes, start in motion. The malleus is attached to the eardrum, and as the sound travels along, the force is amplified by leverage until it arrives at the stapes, which acts like a reversed piston, creating waves in the fluid of the inner ear. The most significant increase in pressure is caused by pneumatic amplification. The face of the stapes has a surface area of about 3.2 square millimeters, while the eardrum has a surface area of 55 square millimeters. Using this, along with leverage through the malleus and incus, the final pressure is 22 times greater than when the sound first arrived. Now we come to the most complicated part of the hearing, the cochlea. In reality, it is coiled up, but it is easier to understand straightened out. There are actually 3 chambers inside, but let's take a look at the central part. The stapes is causing pressure waves to travel through the structure. Along the inside wall is about 20 to 30,000 reed-like fibers. As the waves move along, they encounter fibers with the correct resonant frequency and energy is released. These fibers aren't actually what give us the signal that we heard something. There is a special structure next to these fibers containing hair cells. When the fibers resonate, they cause the hair cells to move, which then sends an electrical impulse to the cochlear nerve and onto the brain. Certain pitches of sound will resonate in specific locations, and louder sounds will cause more hair cells to move. Our brain interprets all this raw data, making it possible to enjoy things like music or an engaging conversation. Just to think that all of this is happening in your head right now at full speed. This is just one of the amazing systems found in the human body that go far beyond our humble human understanding.
Okay, so the cilia in the cochlea are actually the sensory receptors for hearing. So obviously that's where transduction happens. All right, now the cilia are very, very sensitive actually, and so if you look at this visual that I have on the next slide for you, what happens with the cilia is if the sound is too loud, the sound will actually destroy the cilia, and this is where hearing loss comes from, because then you're not able to pick up on the movement that's happening inside the cochlea with that fluid, because the hair cells have been destroyed by very loud sounds. It's almost like they fizzle up and die because the sound is so very loud, and they can never go back again once they die. Now, very loud at 80 decibel levels can destroy cilia in the cochlea. So something to kind of think about when it comes to our behaviors. I mean, I take a look at like a blow dryer. I don't think to put earplugs in when I'm blow drying my hair, but in the process of doing that, I'm damaging my cilia and thus could be experiencing hearing loss in the future. So anyways, think about how loud your earphones are and all of those types of things. So something just to consider. All right, so hopefully you were able to fill out your labeling sheet, and tomorrow in class we will start with a little Kahoot on the ear parts and their functions, so be ready for that, and then we'll move on from there. All right, thanks. Have a great day.